I would consider myself a pretty experienced FPS player. I play tactical shooters, I play Battle Royale games, I play arena shooters, I play realistic shooters, and I've spent at least 6,000 hours of my life playing these games. I invest a lot of my time and money outside the game looking for better ways to play these games, like keyboards and mouses and mousepads and all kinds of stuff. You get it, I'm an epic gamer. I also play most of these games with a lot of my friends. And you know the common gaming press saying, everything is fun with friends. Well, not this one. Valorant is the least fun I had while playing with my Counter-Strike boys. Well, while we all were trying to dissect the game and find ways why this game was inferior to Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike has such a simple, tried and tested formula and such high standards for everything from level design to economy balance, it is nearly impossible for a game that came out of closed beta like a month ago to surpass it. When you make peace with the fact that yes, the game is slightly inferior to Counter-Strike in some ways, you start enjoying the game a lot more. For the first couple of matches, I enjoyed playing the game and thinking about the possibilities that the abilities might create, especially in higher levels of play. But after like 2 matches, everything about the game became as stale as eating a 2-week-old bread right from the fridge with nothing else. The reason of this, in my opinion, is not a problem with how the game looks or how annoying the voice acting is, but a problem with the main design philosophy the developers had while making Valorant, making an accessible, utility-focused version of Counter-Strike. The 2 main ways they achieved this ideal, in my opinion, is through map design and gunplay. But because of how these 2 things are pretty much the boulders keeping the game at its feet, they are not separable things that we can look into one by one. The problems I have with map design bleeds into gunplay and vice versa. But to get into why I feel the way I do, let's start with maps. In Valorant, the fights you engage in always feel like they exist in a vacuum. Simple angles for the defenders and the attackers that collide with each other and nothing else. Especially for the first 3 maps. When I'm peeking an angle as an attacker or a defender, there's always a small amount of angles that I expose myself to. This in and of itself is not a negative first. It can even be a good thing to aim for as a level designer, since this way the mechanical skill of the players dueling become even more important. The problem starts when this engagement design takes over how every single engagement point in a map plays. The level designers made sure that you weren't exposing yourself to too many sightlines at any given time, which has the added side effect of making clearing angles and pushing into sights a boring deal. Pushing into a site gets real boring real fast when it plays exactly the same nearly every round. On top of getting boring, it always feels like I'm in a tube when I'm playing this game. Maps always feel like they're about to collapse all over you. Every corner, every hallway, they all barely fit you inside of them. Compared to CSGO, these maps feel like claustrophobic mazes. Hell, even when comparing to Siege's maps, where most are pretty much multi-floor small buildings, Valorant still feels less free. Last but not least, the level design is simply just way too simple. The outlines of every map nearly looks identical to me. The roads, hallways and everything in between are just lines going to and from bomb sites and spawns. No map feels like they could exist outside the context of this blood sport, or nowhere in a map feels like any section that you might want to control to have the upper hand on the enemy team. To contrast, let's say you are playing Dust 2 on the attacker's side. Your team is down 3-5, but you have successfully took control of Catwalk and CT mid part of the map. Having control over these points opens up countless possibilities for the team, where they can decide to go either of the sides while also controlling all the rotation points between them. Let's compare that to Valorant's maps. On Split, it never feels like I have control over any part of the map. Everywhere from middle to water to vents simply just feel like lines going to and from places. And I think that's the worst part of the game. Every map to a degree feels like a mesh of random choke points between sites. It seems like the level designers at Riot played their hands way too safe so far. Maps are painfully claustrophobic and simple, yet it seems like there's still hope. The new map added into the game with its release, Ascent, seems to be on the right path. It feels less claustrophobic. The angles are more varied, the middle part when in control of it opens up many possibilities, and overall this map feels like it has an identity, which cannot be said about the 3 other ones. However, even Ascent sometimes feels like torture when playing because of how annoying the gunplay is. Just like it was advertised last summer, Valorant has gunplay that is mainly focused on precision. Even more so than Counter-Strike, since spraying is not a reliable solution to getting rid of people in your crosshairs. A game where every match plays like a only headshot deathmatch server. What can go wrong? A lot of things went wrong with gunplay in this point. A lot of things went wrong. Fuck. It's a fuck up. I mean, well, calling it a fuck up would be a disservice to developers. Because it seems to me the developers have achieved what they wanted with the gunplay. To make it accessible. Yes, the gunplay is snappy and precise, but the game makes its hardest effort to make sure a low-skilled player can have a fair fight against a higher skilled one, when simply he should not be having one. This makes peeking an angle without flashes or smokes incredibly hard, because it makes you an easy target for the player holding the angle you are peeking. On top of that, it's just easier to kill a slow-moving player. So, to balance this out, maps are simpler compared to other games. Do you get it now? It all bleeds into one another. Everything causes everything. We are in a loop of never-ending pain. On top of that, you get even slower when you get shot by the tiniest bullet in the game. So much so, when you get tagged, it is incredibly likely that you will be killed unless you first kill the enemy. I also have my minor gripes with the gunplay, like how much aim punch every single gun has on top of getting slowed to a halt, or how slow the weapon animations are, or how it's slower to quick switch between your knife and your sniper rifle when you just scoped it. All of these problems make the skill cap of the game the theoretical highest level of skill one can use to outplay others with. Very low, especially compared to CS, where it seems that every generation of players the skill cap just goes higher and higher. Valorant's skill cap is lower, which is true aim-wise, but there is a reason why you constantly see 300 IQ Omen outplays compilation, or insane Sova arrows, or insanely aggressive RAZE plays on YouTube. The game's skill cap is low until you put in the utility of this game, skills, into practice. When I tried looking at this game without my CS lenses, nearly all of my problems were fixed, other than the simple yet at the same time somehow messy nature of these maps. When you realize the kits of the characters are what you should be using to outplay your enemies with, it all suddenly clicks. Valorant does not need to have a higher aim skill cap when you consider what can already be done with abilities to outplay your enemies. And the possibilities new characters and better maps bring to the table for the future are endless. While yes, there are some characters that take the simplifying what you already do with utility in Counter-Strike route, like Brimstone, or some characters that are simply Call of Duty tacticals, some of the characters' abilities are designed in really smart and creative ways, in ways that break the boring Counter-Strike-like pace. To start things off, my main hero, Mexican beauty and explosive maniac, RAZE. I'm an aggressive player most of the time, so being able to fly through the air and dunk a rocket on the enemy team is right up my alley. But there is also JETT, a character with insane mobility and insanely high damage potential with her knives. Considering RAZE's ultimate after the nerf rarely does a lot of damage while also being more mobile, JETT seems like the obvious choice if you want to play aggressive. But RAZE provides the player with something much deeper than just a go fast button. RAZE's kit gives the player physics-based movement options with her satchels. With angles and timing you can change the apex, length and direction of your flight arc. You can also add your ultimate to achieve more distance or dunk on people with style. Also, her drone allows her to do many things like check corners or sights, double peek to throw the defender's aim off, or open teleporter doors without getting through them to throw your grenade through portals. While JETT provides the player with speed and only speed, RAZE's kit gives the player options, and that is when the game shines the most. when it gives the player a toolkit that can be used in many different ways and lets them lose. Another character that gives the player similar freedom is Omen. His two abilities are just creative and different ways to smoke and flash, but his teleport and ultimate skills straight up break the game. In both Counter-Strike and Valorant, information is key to winning fights and games. You get information in many different ways, from taking risks peeking angles to just listening to footsteps. Omen, however, can be anywhere at any time with his ultimate skill, and appear behind your whole team with his teleport skills, on top of being able to peek from angles or move to locations that are impossible to peek from or move to by other characters. In the end, a good Omen player breaks the understanding the enemy team has on him, adding another layer of depth to the moment-to-moment gameplay. Then there is Info Boys, Cypher with his traps and unique smokes, and Sova with his bouncy arrows. Both kits provide gadgets that let teams get information and have control over the map in different ways than just holding angles with a sniper rifle. Cypher can put creative trap wires around the map to catch flankers or hold sites, push into sites with cylindrical smokes, or straight up be caviar
Draw your
out
last
to speed.
breath, so miserabile.
Sova, on the other hand, is much more complex to master with his arrows that depend both on map knowledge and knowing how your arrows will act. From the 60 or so hours I've played Valorant, the difference between the impact of a good and great Sova player has on the match is the biggest compared to any other character. A good Sova will get frags and use their information arrow to maybe get info for the site they are pushing or holding, while a great Sova player will get crucial info and create openings for their teammates to damage the enemy team and control huge parts of the map. These four examples are not the only creative toolkits that exist in this game. In fact, I think there is less characters with unimaginative skill sets rather than more. Even my man Brimstone, the man who is just smokes and molotovs but easier, have an unexplored depth with his ultimate. His ultimate is great not just to hold the planted bomb, delay a push, but also is insanely good to flash out enemies from their spots or trap them in a closed space for an opening kill. Also, his steam beacon can be pretty useful if utilized correctly in a team fight. Just like all well-designed skill sets, Valorant's characters gives the player options instead of giving them just kill the enemy buttons. That is why this game is fun. When you treat this game without comparing it to Counter-Strike every moment and let it exist as its own creature, then the game shines. When you play the game thinking as much about your character's skills as your own. While the map design, gunplay and weapon balance leave a sour taste of a pretentious gamer who never breathed at the direction of a dev tool at first, Valorant still finds new ways to create its own identity. It might be just an easier version of Counter-Strike without the abilities, but when the liberating and creative skill sets are put into action, the game becomes its own beast. The bad gunplay suddenly clicks. The random and easy nature makes sense with the added layer of abilities. It's just a way to simplify and streamline an otherwise chaotic game pace. Maps feel a lot more nuanced, even though still boring, when you consider every single character and their toolkit and what they can do with their utility. After realizing that, Valorant becomes a fun game with its own identity. After all, one would enjoy Counter-Strike a lot less if they were treating it like Call of Duty. Hi everyone, first off, thank you for watching my video, sitting through 15 minutes of me rambling about a fucking video game. And second off, if you would like to see some more of me rambling about video games or whatever the frig I want to speak about, please consider subscribing and checking out my other videos on the channel. Some of them are old, some of them are bad, some of them are okay. Like the last Stalker one was pretty okay. I really liked it. I really liked how it turned out. And lastly, if there was anybody who was wondering why I didn't upload anything in a month, the main reason was I took a week off. I took a week English. I took a vacation that was a week long. I was away from my computer. I literally didn't have internet for like 3 days. So it was hard to write or record anything or edit anything, mainly because at that point the script was done and I was in the editing stage, but I just had to go. Other than that, the script just went through 2 major rewrites because of my thoughts about Valorant changed a lot, because at first I hated the game, then it was really fun, then it just died out again. So thank you for watching my video again. If you would like to see more, please consider subscribing. See you on the next one.